welcome to The Explainer. You ever stop and wonder what it really takes to make, well, just about everything? I mean, from the phone in your hand to the chair you're sitting on, it all boils down to a surprisingly simple four-part recipe. And I'm serious. Just take a quick look around you right now. None of those things just appeared out of thin air. Every single object is the end result of this long, complicated, and honestly, mostly invisible journey of creation. And you can see that complexity right here, can't you? It's this wild mix of people and machines and all sorts of technology, all humming along together. It looks kind of complicated. But what if I told you that we can break all of this down using a simple four-part framework? So, here's the game plan. First, we're going to talk about what production even means. Then, we'll dive into those four key ingredients: land, labor, capital. And, this is the secret sauce, entrepreneurship, the thing that brings it all together. Okay, let's dive right in. What are these secret ingredients that go into making literally everything that surrounds us? Well, in economics, there's a name for them: the factors of production. Yeah, I know, it sounds a little academic, right? But the idea itself is super simple. Think about it like baking a cake. You need flour, eggs, sugar, basic ingredients. It's the exact same idea for producing anything, whether it's a car or a cup of coffee. So let's just stick with that recipe idea. It works perfectly. So what's actually in this recipe for creation? Well, let's get into it and look at the four fundamental ingredients that make the world go round. And here they are: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. You need all four. Every single one is a critical piece of the puzzle. So let's break them down one by one, starting with the one that's literally the ground beneath our feet. All right, first up is land. Now, when an economist talks about land, they aren't just talking about a plot of dirt you can buy. No, the definition is way, way bigger than that. You should think of land as basically everything nature gives us for free. It's the water, the forests, the minerals in the ground, the crude oil, even the sunlight that hits a solar panel. It's the raw, natural stuff that we start with. A farm is just a perfect, easy-to-see example, right? It uses the physical ground, the soil, the rain, the sun, all these different forms of land to grow the crops that end up on our plates. Okay, so you've got all the raw materials, but what's missing? People. You can have all the trees and minerals in the world, but they don't turn themselves into furniture or smartphones. You need human effort. And that, my friends, is where labor comes in. So simply put, labor is the human work, both the physical, hands-on stuff and the mental, brain power stuff that goes into creating things. But it's not just about working hard. There's another, much deeper layer to this. I mean, just look at this craftsman, for instance. He isn't just mindlessly using a tool. He's applying years of practice, deep knowledge, and incredible skill. And that idea is really important. And that is what economists call human capital. See, it's not just about how many hours someone works. It's about the quality of those hours. Your education, your special training, your unique talents, that's all your human capital. And in our modern economy, it is incredibly valuable. So on one hand, you have the physical, hands-on expertise of a woodcarver. And on the other, you have the abstract, knowledge-based skill of a software developer. Totally different kinds of work, right? But both are fantastic examples of human capital that make labor way more productive. Okay, ingredient 1, raw materials from nature. Ingredient 2, skilled people. But how do we take their efforts and just supercharge them? Well, with tools. And that brings us to our third ingredient: capital. Now, the word capital can get a little tricky because it can mean two different but related things. First, there's monetary capital. That's the cash, the loans, the money you need to even get started. But then there's physical capital, and that's the actual stuff that money buys. The tools, the computers, the buildings, the machinery, all the human-made things that help us produce more. And this factory right here, this is a perfect example of physical capital in action. It's what you call a force multiplier. It allows just a handful of people to do the work of hundreds, and it can turn all those raw materials into finished products on a massive, massive scale. So let's recap. We have our land, our labor, and our capital. But all those ingredients don't just magically jump into a bowl and mix themselves. You need someone to put it all together. You need a chef. And in our economic recipe, that master chef is the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur is really the spark. They're the one with the vision, the person who sees an opportunity that no one else does, and is willing to take a huge risk to bring land, labor, and capital together in a totally new and valuable way.
And it really is a journey. First, the entrepreneur spots a problem or a need. Then they have to go out and pull all the resources together. They take a big personal risk, make all the tough calls, and if they pull it off, they create something new that often makes life better for everyone. The story of Ratna and her restaurant is a great way to see this in action. She had the vision, right? She found a location, that's the land. She hired a team, that's the labor. And she got the money for all the equipment and rent, that's the capital. Ratna, the entrepreneur, was the driving force who mixed all three of those ingredients together.
And what's cool is this idea scales up from just one restaurant to an entire country. As the economist Vivek Debroy says, a nation's growth really depends on how well it combines these basic factors. It's not just about having good ingredients, it's about having a great recipe and a great chef to execute it. So there you have it: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. The four-part recipe for making, well, everything. But I'll leave you with a question to chew on. As technology continues to just completely reshape our world, which one of these four ingredients do you think is going to be the most valuable in the future? Is it going to be the raw materials of land, the human skills of labor, the powerful tools of capital, or the bold vision of the entrepreneur? Something to think about.